What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's review we're going to be taking a look at the Takara Tomy more exclusive Transformers Generation Selects Super Megatron. And here we have Super Megatron fully transformed up into his robot mode, and in my opinion looking absolutely astounding. When it was announced that Takara Tomy were indeed going to be approaching the design of Megatron based on his appearance from the Battlestar's Return of Convoy manga series, I just absolutely knew that I had to add him to the collection, as although I may not be entirely familiar with the actual characterization of Megatron from that series, his design here is for sure one of my all-time favourites, and I think that Takara Tomy have potentially just released their best Generation Select figure yet. I absolutely think that this figure is honestly a masterpiece. Now, if the actual mould itself does seem vaguely familiar to you, that is because this is an incredibly heavy retool of that of the Titan's Return Galvatron. Basically, from the torso upwards, it's 95% brand new pieces, but however, from the torso downwards, such as the thighs, the lower legs, as well as the feet, they are just a complete reuse of Galvatron. However, in my opinion, they work really well, especially with the brand new paint applications. I just think that he looks so awesome with that massive looking fusion cannon, and believe me, this figure is actually more than meets the eye, as he has two modes. This is his Super Megatron form. However, when he is rejuvenated by Dark Nova, he does become the Ultra Megatron, and this particular mold here does have some of the design elements such as his tank mode, his interchangeable faceplate, as well as the fusion cannon, which match Ultra Megatron's appearance. But just taking a look here at the Super Megatron design, lowering the arm and bringing him in for a closer look, I think that the head sculpt looks absolutely fantastic on this figure, very reminiscent to his G1 counterpart. However, as stated before, I think that this is a perfect blend of his original G1 design mixed with a more stylistic approach. If this was adapted into the mainstream media such as a movie or perhaps one of the more recent Netflix shows, I can for sure see this as being one of the fan favourites. This looks so awesome. I think his design looks incredible. His faceplate as well. This is actually one of two interchangeable faceplates. As stated before, when we do turn him into his Ultra Megatron form, he does have a battle mask, which is super cool, and we also do get a rotating piece where we can actually swap the design of his head crest. But here we've got some fantastic detailing there. This is indeed a tampo detailing, so it's been printed on there really lovely. No paint bleeds nor wonky nature to its overall positioning, which is super cool to see. I think that the paint apps there for the face came out really nicely. They've even gone the extra mile to paint where his brow would be, which is really awesome to see, and the red piercing eyes just make him look so formidable. We do also get these shoulder cannons or these shoulder missile pods, and I think these all look super cool. We can of course hinge these back or bring them forward, and these wing pieces here can be manipulated to your own personal desire. And taking a look here at the torso design, similarly to the head, this is actually one of two looks that you can have for Megatron here. However, I'll demonstrate that later on in the review. And I think that the sculpt work on this looks truly remarkable, very reminiscent of his G1 design with the red sections here on the sides of his torso, as well as this piece here. I just think that it's such an awesome design, really incredible. And as we take a look at the proportions here for the arms, I think this has all come out so nicely, and you can see all of the individually sculpted in fingers. And as we turn now down to the lower section, this is where you're going to see some of the pieces that are a direct carryover of that of the Titan's Return Galvatron. However, here with the brand new paint scheme, I just think that it works so nicely. Truly a remarkable looking figure. Taking a look here at his fusion cannon, it's absolutely massive. Definitely looks as if though it would rip through an Autobot if it was fired at them. It looks so formidable. Just removing it here and taking a closer look at it, as this too also has got some of its own unique features. But taking a look at it here in its fusion cannon form, I think that the sculpt work as well as the paint work has come out so nicely, with this orange section here of where the fire blast would emit from. I just think this looks so cool. We can, of course, open this up, and this is giving you a slight preview of his Ultra Megatron form. But this just looks so wickedly awesome. Bringing back Super Megatron though for a quick articulation overview, and then we'll transform him or convert him into his Ultra Megatron form. He does have a ball joint here at the head, so this can look left to right as well as up and down, so great degree of motion out of that. The shoulder pads or the shoulder missiles can articulate backwards on soft ratchet joints, so you can get those out of the way. We can also hinge these fins down as well for a more cleaner and coherent look. We do get swivel joints here at the arms as well as ratchet joints here out to the sides, full 360 rotation there at the bicep, as well as a double joint here for the elbow due to transformation, so you can get a phenomenal range of motion out of that. No wrist rotation unfortunately, however the hands can hinge forwards and backwards, mainly due to transformation. We do also get a waist rotation joint, however the way it sits, it's more of a mid-torso rotation than a waist rotation, and the legs here can kick forwards that far, as well as back to about that far before they bump into the wings. However, when we move this out of the way for his second form, you do definitely get a greater range of motion. The hip skirt pieces here can hinge out to the sides in order to accommodate for a fantastic degree of motion here at the leg. We do also get a full 360 degree rotation at the thigh, 90 degree bend there for the knee, and then finally turning to the feet, I was actually quite surprised that this does indeed have ankle rocker joints side to side, and you can slightly pivot the foot forwards and backwards due to transformation. So in terms of articulation, I think that it's absolutely fantastic. You can for sure get this figure into many poses. Now, turning him into his Ultra Megatron form, as stated previously, I'm not all that familiar with the actual characterization of this particular version of Megatron. However, from what I can gather, when Megatron here, the Super Megatron, is defeated by Star Convoy, he's rejuvenated or upgraded, I guess you could say, by Dark Nova, and basically what that means is he's made to be so much more powerful. He has so many more weapons, and really and truly a completely different look. So just to demonstrate that here, you're going to want to take this front chest plate, hinge this out, and we rotate this around, which I just thought was so cool. And as we replace it, you can see that it's a lot bulkier. The Decepticon insignia is definitely a lot more predominant, and in my opinion, I just absolutely love the way this looks. You can see all of the lovely grey and red paint applications, as well as here with the Decepticon insignia. Such a simple gimmick, but in my opinion, so effective. Turning now to the actual head, unfortunately, in my opinion, I don't think that this is executed to the best of his ability. It's rather clunky in the way that you actually have to rotate the head around, as seeing as this figure is more or less a Voyager class in terms of its scale, there isn't really a lot of room to actually manipulate this, so you do just have to try your best to swivel this all the way around, and you can see that that does deploy the battle mask or the tusked look for Megatron here. Very awesome, and this does actually have design cues taken directly from Dark Nova as well, which is super cool to see, and you can just appreciate the amount of sculpt work that we have got going on here for this head sculpt, as well as the incredible looking paint applications. But as stated before, you can also rotate the crest piece. Now this is actually more cumbersome to do than rotating the faceplate, as you have to hold the faceplate and then try your best to actually rotate this around. It's very difficult to do, as the pieces on this are so small and very fiddly. So just rotate that around, realign this section up, and then conceal that. And in my opinion, I much prefer the red crest over the decal crest that we got when we were taking a look at him in his Super Megatron form. I just think this looks awesome. Bringing back these shoulder cannons now, you can also take the wings here, and these just detach, hinge out to the sides, and then repeat the same process here for the opposite side. And there we have him with the wings deployed, and in my opinion, looking absolutely fantastic. And this is where the entire transformation of the fusion cannon comes into play. So once you open it up like so, you're going to want to come to this piece, just open this section up, and that will actually reveal this piece, which is almost as if though it's a railgun, and the detailing on this is fantastic. Just detach this from here, and then what you can do is close this up, and then this piece here will fold down just to conceal that hollow gap. Now, you have a couple of options with this. You can leave this ported into the port that we had it in when we had him in his Super Megatron form, so off the arm like so, or you can actually have him holding this via this tab here. So you can just align that up and have Ultra Megatron wield that, and then bringing in this piece, you can once again have him holding this. This section is on a hinge with a 5mm port, so you can peg this into the arm. However, for a more accurate look, I do like to plug this into the shoulder pad, and once again, it's rather difficult to do as the joints on this are very stable and secure, but in my opinion, that just looks absolutely fantastic. Truly one of the best designs we have ever gotten for a Megatron. Just giving you a quick 360 degree rotation on this piece. It truly is, to me, one of the best Generation Select figures that Takara Tomy have ever produced. I think that it's absolutely astounding. The only slight drawback for me is his size. Seeing as he is just a heavy retool of the Voyager class Titan's Return Galvatron, he is basically a Voyager, which means he won't scale with your leader class Star Convoy. So I do wish that perhaps they just slightly upscaled the mold, just slightly, so that he could better be more on an eye-to-eye perspective with that Star Convoy. But nevertheless, I think that the look here that we have just looks truly remarkable. And talking of scaling, let's bring some size comparisons in. Now, turning to some size comparisons, here we have Super Megatron compared to that of the leader class Power of the Primes Optimus Prime. Now, unfortunately, I don't own the Star Convoy version of this mold. I'm so regretful that I never actually picked that that up, as now it goes for astronomical prices on the aftermarket, and especially now that I have Super Megatron, I really do want Star Convoy. But the scale here is more or less what you will get with Star Convoy. You can see that in his fully combined form with the actual section or the Orion Pax assembly pegged into the armour, Optimus Prime towers over Super Megatron, which, as stated before, I just wish that perhaps Super Megatron was slightly oversized, even if he was just upscaled just like that. If they'd maybe just increased the size of his legs and the slight mass of his torso, I really think that could have amplified his look. However, when you do have the Orion Pax assembly taken out of all of this armour, they are more or less on an eye-to-eye perspective. So I'll just very quickly show you how that looks for a quick size comparison. You can see here that once you take the Orion Pax out of Optimus Prime, that the scale here I think works quite nicely, especially for the Super Megatron. Here for Ultra Megatron, I think the Ultra Megatron not only got slightly bigger in terms of how many weapons and the wing attachments that he did gain from that upgrade, however he did get slightly taller as well, I believe. So still, I do wish that there was a way to slightly increase Super Megatron's size. However, here I don't think that it looks too bad whatsoever, and once you do get the retooled Star Convoy, it really does pair rather nicely to have that version of Optimus Prime detached out of the armour. And here I just think that the scale works quite nicely. And here for a quick size comparison between some of the more recent figures, here we have the Siege Megatron and of course here the Earthrise Optimus Prime. These two figures here are basically the standard size for Voyagers, and even Super Megatron is slightly bigger than your regular Voyager class. Now that could be the fact that he was released as part of the Titan's Return toy line, and of course Voyagers have gotten slightly smaller over the years, but here I think that the scale actually works really nicely with the Earthrise Prime, and in my opinion this looks like it could fit in almost any collection. I really do think that this is very versatile, not only in the way that you can actually have him appear on the shelf, but in terms of the collections that you can put him in. I think that he wouldn't look out of place with some of your even Studio Series Bumblebee movie figures. I think that this would be an amazing design to have next to some of your Studio Series Bumblebee movie figures. It's a lovely blend of the G1 aesthetic, however slightly stylized, and even here with some of the Siege and Earthrise figures I think he looks great. So really a very versatile piece that can basically be stored amongst any collection. However, that's just my own personal opinion. Perhaps you'll all beg to differ, but here with Super Megatron compared next to these two figures, in terms of a Voyager class, he is slightly bigger than some of our more recent releases. Now, transforming Super Megatron from his robot mode into his jet mode, it's actually quite straightforward. So to begin with, you're going to want to remove the fusion cannon and here the upper missile pod, and then just open this section back up, peg this piece in, and then fold this section down, and then just collapse this in there, conceal this up, rotate these pieces out, and just compress them like so. We'll then turn to the main figure himself. Now, you don't actually have to transform the faceplate back into the regular version. You can simply just leave it like this. So just pull this torso piece down and then hinge that in, lift this piece up, fold these sections in, and then just conceal the hands. They are on ratchet joints, so they do just click in there, and you can see that these tabs will peg into these slots on the shoulders. So just align those up, and they do snap in there really nice and securely. Very stiff joints on this figure with no loose fitting joints or no loose ratchet joints, which is great to see. And then just compress those slightly closer into the main torso. We can then now turn our attention to the legs. So starting off with these, you're going to want to rotate this piece all the way around so that the front of the waist is now facing the back. We can then turn our attention to the treads, and with the treads you're just going to want to flip those out and then conceal and fold the feet in. Repeat the same process here for the opposite side. And now with this, you're going to want to disengage this section and collapse all of this in. Now as you do this, you're going to want to make sure that the hip armor is actually folded in. And if I can show you, there are some very small tabs here that will slide and groove into the slots here. So just align those up and snap those nice and securely into place. And of course, repeat the exact same process here with the opposite side. So just align all those up, and you can see a tab there that will plug into this slot, and on the underside there is that same tab and slot mechanism. So just give that all a nice firm push. Come around now here to the front, and this is where you're going to want to bring the fusion cannon back into play. You can see that we do have this huge port that will slide into this slot, so just align those up, tab those in, and these two pegs here and here will slide into these slots. So just hinge this all the way back, snap that nice and securely into place, and the wings here are really up to your own interpretation. You can have them in a position that looks like this, or of course you can straighten them out. But here we have Super Megatron fully transformed up into his rather awesome looking jet mode, and I think that even in jet mode he looks incredibly imposing. Really an awesome looking release. We can of course fold these pieces back if you so desire, so there is a lot of versatility in the way you can display this. And the fusion cannon here, it looks absolutely awesome. This almost looks as if though it's a jet with a huge gun attached to the front of it. Fantastic. I can just imagine this raining hell down on the Autobots. And as stated before, of course, you can hinge these wings up if you so desire. So we really do have quite a variety of different options. There really isn't much to cover here in the jet mode. Of course, you can see that we do have tank treads, which means that this figure is a triple changer if he does indeed have a third mode, and that is to match his appearance once he is reformatted into Ultra Megatron. So just giving you a quick look at how he looks from the behind, and then from the underside. Very, very cool. Now, turning to the transformation of Megatron's third and final mode, that being his tank mode. Once again, this is a really nice touch that Takara Tomy have engineered into this piece. This is a direct nod, once again, to when Dark Nova reformats Megatron and makes him Ultra Megatron, and he does indeed gain a third mode, that being, of course, the tank mode. So to begin transformation for this, I recommend just taking this entire back section here and just rotating it all the way around. You're going to want it in the same position that we had it in when we had him fully transformed up into robot mode. So just rotate that all the way around. The wings here, we're going to fold those up as if we would for when we were going for transformation back into robot mode. So just compress those. With this section now, you're going to want to disengage this. And you can see here on the knee pad that there is this almost triangle slot that will actually peg into this triangle peg on the bicep area of Megatron's arm. So you're just going to want to align this up in a way so that it all accordings nice and securely, and just give that a nice push, and that will really nice and securely tab in. And of course, repeat the same process here for the opposite side. So just align that up and give that there a nice squeeze so that we are left with something that looks along the lines of this. You're then going to want to take these sections here and just hinge these pieces back, lift this all the way over the top, actually remove the fusion cannon now, and take this, hinge this outwards, untab this section, and then with this, you're just going to want to fold this over the top, and then conceal this, and then this peg will peg into this slot up the top. So just snap that into place, and here we have Ultra Megatron, should I say, fully transformed up into his awesome looking tank mode. And similarly to what I've stated about this figure in all of these modes, I think that Takara Tomy have done an absolute fantastic job. Now there is actually one step that I did miss, and that is that you do have to come to this under section of the chest plate, fold this piece out, and that does reveal a third set of treads. So we have a set here, here, and then here, and I just think that this looks absolutely fantastic. Really an awesome looking piece all round. Bringing it in for a closer look, the detailing there on this section looks fantastic. I just think that they've done such an awesome job with this release, seeing as this was once a Galvatron mold. The way that they've adapted this and re-engineered it to fit the character of Super Megatron and Ultra Megatron, I just think is so awesome. In my opinion, this is by far the best Transformers Generation Selects figure that we have gotten to date. Unfortunately, the treads don't roll, they are just plastic, but you can see that we do have some nice detailing in them, so that's all quite cool, especially here for these back treads. And as we turn to the underside, you can see the torso region of Megatron's robot mode. So definitely here an awesome looking tank mode. And once again, there is so much versatility to the way you actually display this. We can have the fusion cannon in all different types of configurations, which in my opinion just makes this figure so much more valuable, as you are able to get so much play value out of this release. And in terms of a display, you can honestly display this in almost any way you so desire. So for tank mode, I really do think that they've done a superb job. So that was my review on the Takara Tomy more exclusive Transformers Generation Select Super Megatron. If you haven't guessed already from this review, I'm just absolutely blown away by this latest release by Takara Tomy. Unfortunately, this is a Takara Tomy more exclusive, which means that it is going to be incredibly difficult to track down, especially if you were unable to pre-order it. But if you did manage to get your hands on this, then it is for sure a phenomenal piece and will no doubt look amazing in any collector's collection. As stated before, I think that the overall versatility aspect of this figure is what really makes this one of the best. It has so many different options in terms of how you can display him in robot mode, even the jet mode, and of course the tank mode. It's all very versatile. You can have the wings in any position you want, the fusion cannon or the front cockpit of the jet mode in any way you want, the shoulder pads as well as these fins, the rocket launcher here at the top, as well as the faceplate, the crest and the torso. You can really make this figure your own in terms of how you can display him, and he is for sure a breath of fresh air after receiving that Transformers Generation Selects Piranacon, which in my opinion was a major letdown. I thought that it was such a floppy mess and was for sure a major departure from what Takara Tomy tend to put out, which is astounding pieces like this. Seeing as this was once a Titan's Return Galvatron, I think that they've done an incredible job. It would have perhaps been nice if they could have slightly retooled the lower section to make this figure almost a completely brand new sculpt, but as stated, I do think that the legs here work quite nicely and are more or less what we saw in the original Battlestar's Return for Convoy manga series. I think this is a fantastic figure, and if you are able to track one down, then I can highly recommend this. I really do hope that you enjoyed my review. If you did, please do let me know down in the comment section below. Also, be sure to let me know what you think of this particular rendition of Megatron, and whether or not you will indeed be adding him to your collection. I thank you all for watching my video, and until my next review, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.